Hello and welcome to the oh my god. Hello and welcome to Jesus. Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode of my Let's Pool build. It's almost finished now. Hooray. Oh, there we go. As you can see in the last video, the neck was brought to a perfect shine and smooth playable finish just using some sandpaper. I wouldn't really want to put a clear finish on that because that would just cause it to be sticky like most guitars you buy. And that's why on all of my homemade guitars, and even this one that is really cheap and I sprayed, I've actually sanded all the paint off so it's just the bare wood, because this is a lot smoother and much more comfortable to play quickly because you can slide around and it's just so much easier. So that's why in this video, all I've got to do is prepare and paint the body. So before I actually start taking my guitar to the paint shop, I need to fill in the grain so the paint will go on better. Instead of just being clever and buying some grain filler, I decided to take some Ronseal wood filler and thin it down with some nitrocellulose thinners. I had to keep adding them and stirring it with a stick until it got to the right consistency, and after I'd made sure I added the hardener, I could brush it all over my guitar with a paintbrush. Having let it dried, I took a sanding block and sanded off most of the wood filler to leave the grain filled in. I did of course have to do this several times, and on the front you can see that I've obviously got to do it by hand where the carved top couldn't be sanded with a sanding block. And for doing the sides, I take a flat wheel and put it in my Bosch hand drill so that I can remove most of the filler from the sides of the guitars, leaving it nice and smooth. Before routing the neck pocket, I drilled most of the material out with a Forstner bit. And yes, as you can see, I drilled way too far to the side, which has left some half circles in the body. I took the opportunity whilst using the wood filler to fill this in, and then file it all out, leaving the neck pocket perfectly square again. There's some interesting tuners and some more tuners. Hello, I'm just looking through my box of guitar bits to see what I have. Bushings for the tuners, a Fender style jack, and oh! It's a good job that I haven't actually painted my guitar yet because, well, I need to paint this as well. That was silly, so now all I need to do is fill it in with the wood filler and sand it off like I did the rest of the guitar. Yes, I've just noticed that no one will have any idea what that piece of wood I'm just randomly waving around was. And that is a... what is that? That's the control cavity cover plate. You still don't know what one of those is, do you? God, the only example I could find was this huge, heavy bass. But basically, you've got your electronics on the front, obviously on the back, then there's a plate. Mine was made of wood, and I almost completely forgot to paint it, so I would have had like a red guitar, just a wooden coloured thing there, so that's what that thing was. So now that I've remembered to prepare the control cavity cover, and spent 5 minutes trying to tell you what one is, I can take the body to the paint shop and begin painting it. I taped off the bridge holes and part of the neck pocket, but I left the edges just showing so that none of the wooden parts could be seen when the neck was fitted. After the first coat of primer, the wood filler hasn't seemed to have worked that well. It's slightly better, but I definitely do need to invest in a proper grain filler. But I applied some filling putty, let it dry, sanded it off flat, and applied the second coat of primer. I could then fill it in some more, let it dry, sand it off, and prime it a third and final time, so I didn't have to do a fourth like last time. And once that had dried, I could use some 500 grit wet sandpaper to sand the primer perfectly flat, because that's what painting is all about. If you intend on getting a perfect final finish, it is all about making every single stage perfectly flat and consistent. But, now that the priming was done, it was time to choose a colour. Hooray! I couldn't decide between either blue or red, so I put it on these rulers and then even put some black there to see if I wanted to do a sunburst. I chose to do blue, as you can see, and sprayed on just the first coat, roughly all over the body. This first coat was just kind of meant to be a base coat where you'd build the colour up slowly in several coats. But after this first coat had dried, I actually liked the effect of the white coming through from the background that I decided to stop spraying the colour at this stage. This made the next stage a tiny bit more difficult because that meant that the paint wasn't sprayed on evenly. And as you know about painting, to get the perfect finish, every stage needs to be flat and consistent, but it didn't really cause any noticeable issues so that I could carry on and spray on 3 coats of acrylic lacquer.
Why don't you feel like the sun We then left it to dry for a couple of days. Then, of course, like with every paint job, we had some orange peel. All we had to do to remove this was take some wet 2000 grit sandpaper and then sand all over the finish to get it perfectly smooth and consistent. This sanding process, of course, left some scratches in the finish. So, to remove them, we took some G-Free liquid polishing compound and then rubbed it in with one cloth to remove the scratches and polish up the finish, and then just used the second cloth to remove the excess polish and bring the guitar to a perfect shine. And then, all I had to do was assemble it. There's not really anything interesting to talk about here, except, of course, the idiotic mistake I made. Don't put your bridge posts in before you've actually remembered to put your ground wire in the hole, because I had to pull mine out with a bolt mechanism and put the wire in and refit the studs, so... There we have it! This is the end of the penultimate video! It's gone so very quickly. Yeah, right. I think it's been about 7 months with all of my mishaps. But I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, where I'll show you the finished guitar and actually give you a sound demonstration. Thank you for watching, I'll see you soon. Yes, I've just noticed that no one will have any idea what that piece of wood is randomly. Yes, I've just noticed that no... Oh, this is a long sentence. As you can see in the last video, the neck was just polished up with some... Do you mind? I'm trying to become a millionaire and she decides to turn the food blender on and go... Oh well, right. Where was I?